All right, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. I wish to extend this warm welcome to everybody who could make time to one of the many lines of great speakers that we have prepared for you in this year's Pictorial 2022. And I am humbled to have the opportunity to be the moderator of this session and allow me to read the biodata of our speaker today. Mr. Khairul Anwar Muhammad Zaki is our speaker today who will be delivering a talk on democratization of learning. He is the CEO of Pandai Education's Dram Berhad. This is indeed a local company, guys. So this is really great startup. I happen to know Encik Khairul before and his team, wonderful team under Pandai. Please look up on Pandai. And this is the biodata of our speaker. Mr. Khairul is a graduate of Purdue University, USA. He also holds data science certification and masters in business administration. Since 2007, he has founded several companies in technology and education. He is in the international committee of several global education initiatives in mathematics, linguistics, and computational thinking. He initiated several education competitions such as Kangaroo, Beaver, Kancil, Kijang, a lot of them. So maybe the next time when you look at this, you can relate to our handsome gentleman. And all his competitions have involved more than 250,000 students. Mr. Cairo is an alumnus of Y Combinator, a prestigious accelerator program based in San Francisco. Now, he spends most of his capacity as the founder and CEO of Pandai, a fast-growing edtech startup. Launched in 2020, Pandai has secured more than 2.5 million US guys in investment from Silicon Valley, New York, Europe, India, and Southeast Asia. So without further ado, I present to you our next speaker, Mr. Khairul Anwar Muhammad Zaki, for his talk on democratization of learning. It's all yours.
All right, thank you, Dr. Fadlina. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me to this program. Very excited to be here. I am very happy, excited to share a little bit about my story, that revolves around the topic of democratization of learning. So I'll share my screen now, and hopefully everyone can start seeing my screen. All right, so the title of this session is Democratization of Learning. So a little bit of background about me. Like Dr. Fadina mentioned just now, I'm currently spending most of my capacity on this thing called Pandai, an edtech startup. So basically, it's an app that helps school students learn and improve their performance in school. So and it can be used by students from 7 to 17, meaning primary school and secondary school. So this is a Pandai. If we have time towards the end of the program, then maybe I'll share a little bit more about Pandai, what it does, and how it actually helps to democratize learning for our school students as well. And before Pandai, Pandai is relatively new, but before Pandai, for the past 15 years, my team and I, we've been in education for quite a while. We started with doing, this very traditional program, which were, to be honest, not very scalable. A lot of face-to-face program, a lot of paper-based program, going to one school to another. But over the years, we've run many other programs, like Dr. Fadila mentioned just now, programs, Olympiad competition and stuff. And we have been active in many global education initiatives. Specifically, I went to education conferences, to do research on behalf of the Ministry of Education, and to get our students to be involved in international competitions as well. So every time I went abroad, I also tried to unearth students from Malaysia, all parts of Malaysia, from kampung-kampung, across different races, different region, different family background, different grades, and get them to also participate and get the recognition that they deserve. And we see that our school students in Malaysia, these are school students, secondary or primary school students, are actually very good. They just need the platform, the opportunity for them to participate and and show their talent, get the recognition, and show their achievements, right? So my experience, to be honest, the past 15 years has been revolving around students in primary school and secondary school. So today, when we talk about democratization of learning, I will talk about the learning from the point of view of K-12, which revolves around students from K to 12 or primary, secondary. I know in this audience today, they also maybe a representative from university, a representative from maybe early childhood education or adult learners, right? But because of my experience in this domain, so I'll talk more about this. But towards the end, if there's time, if there's Q&A, we can discuss together on other areas as well. All right, so when we talk about democratization of learning, there's this keyword of democratize, right? But interestingly, when I went to different parts of the world, they talk about democratizing in slightly different ways as well. So I know in this context, when you say democratizing learning, we want to make learning as accessible as possible. But interestingly, I think I want to also touch a little bit about democratizing, schools as well, because in other parts of the world, they also very extreme, democratic schools that I'll show a little bit just now, later after this, and I'm sure you guys know that when we talk to anyone, right? And we talk to them about education, everyone has an opinion about education, right? We talk about other verticals of other industries. Sometimes not many people have opinion on, say, I don't know, on say transportation or on I don't know, logistic or on national safety and others. But when we talk about education, everyone will have an opinion about education because most likely we have been in school before, right? So we have our own opinion in education, and it's quite a spectrum. I'm sure you all can recognize the person in this picture. So I'm the handsome guy on the right. This is Sohaimi, my CEO. But this guy, I'm sure he became a little bit viral recently. He's a teacher, a cikgu. I'm not a close friend of his, but obviously because we're also in education, then we had got a chance to meet him in the past, but it went a bit viral recently. It doesn't really matter. Some people agree with him, some people don't. It's not about that, but just want to show that there's a lot of opinion about education, right? For example, in this case, he's a teacher himself, a school teacher, so he has his own opinions. But when we talk about stakeholders in education, they also, parents, right? From PIBT, Parent Teachers Association, PTAs, and then we have the students themselves, right? So we will talk about democratic school, right? Schools, there are a wide spectrum of schools. There are also democratic schools. There are also autocratic schools, right? Democratic where, the voices of everyone are considered. Autocratic where it's quite rigid in nature, right? So in Malaysia, our schools are somewhere in between. So we are not the autocratic where, yes, we have uniform, we have, the syllabus is set, but, teachers are allowed to use their own, creativity, their own tools, their activity in their RPH, for example, right? And teachers can also rearrange, to teach the chapters in different ways and to use their own creative, tools or platform or activities in school, right? So we're somewhere in between. So I just want to talk a little bit about democratic schools because sometimes when I go abroad and I talk about democratization, and they will relate to this as well. So democratic schools, it's something different. It's not prevalent here in Malaysia. It's not maybe common here, but democratic schools actually, it's a school where students have the right themselves. So students have the right to make their own choices regarding learning and all other areas of life that they may individually determine as well. For example, they can determine what they want to do in school, when they want to do in school, or where they want to do it, how they want to do it, and with whom. And they also have the right to have an equal share in decision making as well. And these are students, so they have a say on how schools are run, etc., etc. So the democratic school are also formal education, also school, but they are organized democratically. So students decide on their own learning. And they decide on, for example, their governance of school, decide on the rules disciplinary action, they decide, and their voices are equal to the teacher voices as well. So this is not something new. It has been around since the 1600s. So more than 400 years ago, democratic schools has been around, and it's very, very democratic because even the students have a say. So I think I want to give some example quickly before we move on. For example, there's a school in the US, in Massachusetts. It was Sudbury Valley School. So this school started maybe more than 50 years ago. So in this school, it's for students 4 to 19 years old. So what's interesting is that there's no traditional classroom, no traditional classes. So children are free to do whatever they want to do with their time. The school has no required academic activities and no academic expectation at all. So students are free to spend their time as their wish. So very, very interesting, right? Very different. And in the UK, there's also science school. In fact, Sudbury School now, because of popularity, the Sudbury model has also, be used in schools in the United States, in Australia, Belgium, Canada, France, Germany, Israel, Japan, in Switzerland as well. So there are also Sudbury School in those countries. And then in the UK, there's Science School. It's been around for quite some time as well. In 1987, also quite popular. So founded by two persons, Sean and Sibylla. So that's why it's S and S. So in short, it's Science. It's actually SNS, but now it's Science School. So similarly, they also very, very democratic what students have to say. So I just want to say this quickly. Democratic school where even students have to say, which is weird, right? Here in Malaysia, we cannot imagine like even students can determine what they want to learn, they want to do. What if they just want to sleep? What if they just want to play, throughout the day in school, right? So it's very, very weird for us. But in Malaysia, we're not very democratic. We're not the extreme of being autocratic. We're somewhere in between. So, but today, when we're talking about democratizing, learning, what we're actually, discussing is to make learning more accessible for all students, right? To make the learning experience more accessible to all students. So, let's look at the number from globally before we look at Malaysia. Look number globally first. In the world. This number show the percentage of primary school age children who are not in school. So in 1999, on average, and throughout the world, 16% altogether are not in school. Whereas now in 2019, or 3 years ago, it's already reduced to only 8% primary school age children who are not in school. So the worst area is sub-Saharan Africa. Used to be 41% not in school, but now in 2019 became 19%, reduced already. And then followed by other regions like South Asia and other parts of the world, right? So 8% might not seem that big. Oh, okay lah, only 8% of primary school age students who are not in school. But this 8% is out of all the population of primary school age children, right? So if you look at the next table, you can see there are 787 million children of primary school age. So if 8% are not in school, that means around 58.4 million children are not in school, in primary school. So around 60 million students worldwide are not in school. And like I said, the worst region is the sub-Saharan Africa region, 90% of them not in school, followed by South Asia, the likes of India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, etc. And then followed by East Asia, which includes the countries in South Asia as well. All right. So if you look at in the form of map, like Malaysia is here, so we are not that bad, probably around maybe 0 to 19% in South Asia, except for Cambodia here, you can see slightly higher, more than 20%. But when you get to South Asia, like I said, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, etc., more than 40%, probably not in school, not in school, but with adults less than 1 year formal schooling. And then throughout the world, the worst countries would be Yemen, and then this is Niger, and this is Burkina Faso. So with more than 80% of adults having less than 1 year of formal schooling. So you can see that, we here in Malaysia, we are very, very privileged because everyone gets a chance to be school. Almost everyone gets a chance to be in school, and we thought that, hey, it's common to go to school, right? Once we get to a certain age, like 6, 7 years old, we're already in school, but not in some other parts of the world. So in Malaysia, like I said, we're lucky. Primary education was made compulsory since 2003, and this is because of the Education Act 1996, which was amended in 2002. They made it compulsory for students or children who are in primary school age to be in primary education. Unfortunately, until today, only primary education is made compulsory. We haven't, as a country, made secondary school as compulsory as well. So hopefully, in the years to come, in the near future, we can also make secondary school compulsory as well, so that everyone will be also in school until they finish the secondary school. So when we talk about democratization of learning in Malaysia, there are more than 5 million students who go to different types of school, like public school, private school, international school and stuff. There are around 10,500 schools in Malaysia. So these are the students that already have access to some form of education. But having said that, even then, these students are experiencing different type of learning from one student to another, because they go to different school, they have access to different material, different teachers, different way of learning as well, different peers as well, right? So some students, even though they are in school, but maybe the school has less facility, the school is further away from the house, for example, or their homes, or the school has not enough teacher or less experienced teachers or less material, for example, right? And so how do we democratize learning so that students from even different school can also get access to the same material? So that's something that we need to strive for. All right. So when we talk about democratization of learning, it's important to talk about what the students learn, what the students have access to, and number two, how the students learn, because this is also important. At the same time, not only the material, but how they actually undergo the process of learning as well. Okay, so we talk about number one first, what the students learn. So this means access to knowledge, access to the materials, and whatever the students want to learn. I just want to show a quick picture here. So this is a picture of a session that we had recently. This is Suhaimi, my co-founder. This is Akmal, also my co-founder. So Suhaimi is the CEO of Pandai. Akmal is the CTO of Akmal. Suhaimi is currently in Singapore today. Just left for Singapore today. We'll be back tomorrow. And Akmal is currently in Jakarta. In this session, we were at our chairman's office, home office actually. So you can see literally thousands of books are here. So it's very, very interesting that one person like him can have access to all these kind of books. Very, very useful, very, very beneficial to be able to be reading all these kind of books, right? But these kind of books, yes, it's beneficial for that one person, but how about other people, right? Do they also get similar access, to get the opportunity to access this book, the monetary resources to buy this book, and the time as well to read this book, right? Not all people, students are the same, but in this case, you can see that how one person who's a bibliophile, someone who likes books, can collect books and read on their own. And this is not, just our chairman, because the three of us, we are all avid readers as well. For example, Suhaimi, good friend of mine, my co-founder. I'll show you his personal library at his own house. It looks something like this. Okay, this is the second floor of Suhaimi's house. It's actually a huge library with even a ladder that you can actually move along the rail. So you can move the ladder from one side to another. And Suhaimi even has his own software to manage his books, to categorize his book, and also to position his book on his shelves, right, to easily find them, right? So that's why when we talk about democratization, it's important to talk about access to knowledge as well. So as we know, democratization of knowledge actually means the acquisition and the spread of knowledge among a wider part of the population, not just the privileged few, not just the privileged elites, right? Not just the ones who are rich, the ones who are resourceful, the ones who have all this opportunity, right? So however, the start of this democracy of knowledge can be marked from the printing press. The purpose of printing press, to produce a large amount of books to spread information uniformly among the masses, because before that everything is handwritten, right? Remember the first version of Quran, for example, was handwritten, was memorized from one person to another. But where the introduction of printing press, then information can be spread more uniformly and more widely to the masses. And then libraries, particularly public libraries, also contributed massively. And over the centuries, the definition of information has risen. Digital technology, especially the internet, has definitely played a key role. They provide the masses with open access information. And today, in the digitalized world, the ability of online content actually outnumbers the information published in books, journals, or or in any print form. So there's more online content now, which is accessible. So in the internet, I'm sure you know there's a lot of things we can browse on the internet, on website, on YouTube, and almost everything is for free as well. So the most powerful search engine, right, is Google, and everyone uses this. The most viewed encyclopedia is Wikipedia, and it's a free as well. It's free encyclopedia as well, and there's a lot of information there, and it keeps growing as well. And the most viewed info-based website is actually the Britannica Encyclopedia online. So as you know, Britannica has been around for quite some time, right? More than 400 years ago. Used to be in print format, but now it has gone online. So it can easily be accessed at Britannica.com. So any student wants to read up on something can just go online to go on any of the website. Many more, even now with social media, there's a lot of content online as well. And apart from this, there's also a lot of MOOCs, right? Massive open online open courses, like Coursera, DCT, edX, Udemy, and many others as well. So anyone can just quickly take a certificate here, and many of them are for free. For example, I took this, one of my courses I took on, this is Coursera, Wharton. Wharton is like the number one business school in the world. So I took a class here, and it was for free. I didn't pay a single cent. I think I only paid for the certificate, maybe, I forgot, a long time ago. But yeah, anyone can just learn something for almost for free on all these platforms, right? So in Pandai, these are the team members, right? I'm the one on the left, Khairul here, Suhaimi, Akmal, and Nazatul as well. So these are the core team members. Obviously, we have many other people contributing to Pandai, but these are the four main people. So we're to be honest, we're lucky. We're privileged in a way. We because we actually went to study in good universities around the world. For example, I went to Purdue University. My friend Suhaimi went to MIT. Akmal went to RPI in New York, a top IT school, and Nazato went to study in Tokushoku University in Tokyo, in Japan. So we got lucky to study in all these universities, not because we are rich, but because we got good results when we were in SPM. So I got 10 A1 back then, and the rest also got similar results. And we got scholarships to study abroad. And the contributing factor that allowed the four of us to study abroad was because all four of us actually went to good school. We were, to just share with you, we were in the same batch. So we're the same age. We were in the same school, in fact. We were in the same school. And this is our school when we were in secondary school. It's actually a boarding school. I don't know whether you can guess. It's a boarding school. It's actually not an SPP, it's an MRSM, Mata Rendah Sains Mara, or Mara Junior Science College in English. So in MRSM, this is MRSM Jasin, or now it's called MRSM TGB, which is the top performing MRSM among all MRSM, and among the top performing schools nationwide as well, right? In our year, this school actually ranked first in SPM, and the past few years as well, they always ranked either number one or towards the top of the SPM ranking. So we got lucky. All four of us actually came from simple family background, not rich family. We didn't come from a well-off family. Our parents are all teachers. Like my mom is a teacher. Suhaimi's parents is a teacher. Akmal's mother is also a teacher as well. So we came from a normal family, but we were privileged because we went into the school. We had access to good workbooks, good material, good teachers as well. So at the time, obviously, other students in other school might not have access to Guru Cemerlang or these materials like we had right back then. So this is another form of privileged opportunity that we need to talk about when we talk about democratizing. Yes, other students are also in school, but they might not have access to the same material, same teachers. And that's why recently when the Ministry of Education actually announced that they plan to record videos of all these excellent teachers nationwide to put in their Delima initiative, which is a platform by the Ministry of Education, so that all these good teachers, when they teach, the video is recorded and can be accessed by students, even from students who is not in that teacher school, right? So that's an effort toward democratizing the access towards the same teachers. the same excellent teachers. And then number two, it's how students learn, right? How students learn. Okay, so like I said, in the past 15 years, we've been lucky. We've run many activities in, education, engaging thousands of schools, thousands of students, and growing and all this for the past 15 years before Pandai. And we've been active not only in the urban areas, we've been active also in rural areas. We went to places that you can only get to by boat. For example, this is Darul Sarawak, by the way. They also have school. The teachers are motivated, the students are happy, but obviously, they have some, disadvantages of, facilities, of, getting materials quickly and all that, right? Even internet access is intermittent, for example. So, and then when it comes to COVID-19 pandemic, it made it even worse, right? The effect of COVID-19 pandemic is well documented. Everyone is aware about this. So I just summarized this quickly. So learning during COVID-19 is very, very challenging. So because the pandemic saw the greatest disruption to global education system in human history. So schools everywhere were forced to shut suddenly. Youngsters, teachers, and parents were suddenly introduced to a new form of teaching learning. Kan? Tiba-tiba sahaja. So according to the World Economic Forum, at its peak during the pandemic ni, saw 94% or 1.6 billion of the world's school-age children out of classroom and had to learn remotely from home. So 94% of school-age children were affected, 1.6 billion throughout the world. So this problem is not only only in Malaysia or only in Asia, it's everywhere, even in the more developed countries as well. And then 63 million teachers found themselves connecting with their students on digital platforms. So teachers are affected as well. Teachers were affected as well because they found themselves connecting on digital platforms suddenly in an unplanned way, often with little prepare. So we cannot blame our Malaysian teachers. Hello? Hello?
Yes, Mr. Khairul, we can hear you.
Sorry, I was interrupted suddenly.
No worries.
Let me continue. All right. Okay, can see my screen, right? Okay, so just now I talked about the effect of COVID-19. What happened in the past 2 years, but what about in the future, right? So the e-learning efforts that have been made during COVID-19 have prompted a major rethink of the education delivery. So according to the UNESCO survey, they say that the remote learning through the digital platform will continue to play an important role in education, even after this COVID-19 pandemic has ended. And as school reopen, now the school reopen, 90% or over 90% of the 200 participant countries have said that they will continue to do this. They report that hybrid models, which is a combination of online and offline or remote and personal learning, have continued even after pandemic has ended. So it shows that the future education delivery is going to be a blended form of learning, hybrid learning of online and offline. All right. Not only this, but to build the resilience and allow education system to adapt to future shocks, these hybrid models are set to continue, right? And definitely e-learning is here to stay. The lesson that we learned in the crisis cannot be wasted. And more importantly, the apparent willingness of teachers, of parents, and all the stakeholders to engage with this new approach of education must be capitalized before it dissipates, right? We learned a lot during COVID-19, the things that we forced to do. But now we've seen some of the benefit. We have to find ways that to continue doing, all the good things that e-learning has to offer. All right. So according to Mr. Saavedra, who's a global director of Education World Bank, he says that this shock might have lasting negative impact, but it must be an opportunity to accelerate, not to go back where we were before. And we will go to a new normal with different understanding of the role of parents, teachers, technology, and a new normal that should be more effective, more resilient, more equitable, more inclusive, more democratic. And we owe it to our children. All right. So we can see that EdTech is somewhat democratic learning, with the technology, like I said, the efforts of Ministry of Education to do recorded videos, to use technology in order to reach out to the remote areas. So EdTech has the ability to democratize learning. So I'll go through a little bit on how actually EdTech democratize learning so that we can summarize it quickly. So number one, the best educators in the world are now available to everyone, right? Online platforms such as, Coursera, like I showed just now, or MIT OpenCourseWare, or even YouTube actually give access to some of the best instructors in the globe. So imagine a student even living in rural area, even in remote areas of Malaysia, can now suddenly attend lectures in, by prestigious professors at Harvard, at MIT, at Yale, for example, right? Because of EdTech, right? As long as there is internet, obviously. And number two, EdTech improve the quality of interactions with face-to-face teachers. Even with face-to-face teachers, they are not teaching online, they are teaching face-to-face. But the quality of interaction can also be improved with EdTech. So because of easy access to quality lesson, to lectures, teachers can spend less time on assembly materials and more time with interacting with the student. For example, in Pandai, which is our app, we also have the component of Pandai Teacher, where teachers can access our question bank, can access ERPH, eLadap, and all the materials that help teachers to handle the administrative work, to help them teaching, even if they want to teach, face-to-face or offline, without teaching online, right? So teachers can focus more on, getting them to know their students better, to personalize their instruction even more. And number three, students can access to communities of experts online. So we all know that the most effective method of learning is not just reading, it's not just listening to teachers teaching, right? It's through hands-on experience and expert example, right? So for example, if a student, let's say in Malaysia, is learning about history, for example, or history of the civilization of Europe, for example, they can chat maybe with someone there, with a museum there, with an archaeologist on Skype, for example, or students learning Japanese, for example, can easily communicate with native speakers via, I don't know, blogs or wikis, or even, Zoom or Google Meet, whatever, right? And number four, knowledge information is available to all for free or a very, very low cost, right? And gone are the days when education was out of reach for the economically disadvantaged. Dulu, only the ones who can afford to pay can go to, all these good school or good materials, access good materials. But now, even the poorest school, the student in the world can find the education content that they need as long as they have internet. Even for Pandai, we have the paid version for students, we have the free version as well, right? As a social enterprise, we know we go to always have the free version, and the free version is not limited macam 14 hari or limited in time frame, like 1 month only and all. It's free forever, they can use indefinitely, but just some limited features. All right. Okay. And then number 5, student can also easily access personalized assessment and feedback as well. So this is what Pandai is doing lah, personalized feedback. So I'm lucky because I've been to several school visits around the world, visiting school to see how technology has been used in education, to see how it is democratizing learning and also teaching. So this is me in Hungary, talking about education with a group of educators around the world. And I don't know, Dr. Fadila, do we have time for me to talk a little bit Pandai before we end?
Yes, sure. We have about 5 minutes.
Okay, kering dekat. Okay. Okay, so I'll talk about Pandai a little bit. How Pandai helps in about 5 minutes. So for those of you who are not aware, Pandai is the thing that we're working on at the moment. It's an AI-based EdTech platform. They help school students practice and get better grades in school. So basically, students from year 1 to form 5 get assessment materials and other type of materials quizzes lah, test lah, macam-macam. And we started this recently, baru je, in January 2020, and then we grew quickly, introduced iOS and web version. So now it can be accessed easily on phone, on laptops, computers, tablets, etc. Available on across different platforms as well. So we started very humble beginning in January, and we saw the growth slowly. So in Pandai, there are many interesting features. I don't want to talk about them yet. I just want to say quickly that we started January 2020. So in the first month, we only had like 300 plus users. Second month, 2,000 plus users, students who are using Pandai. And then in March, suddenly something interesting happened, which is COVID-19. So obviously we didn't, set out to solve the home-based learning, the PDPR situation, right? We started in January, way before COVID-19 hit, but somehow COVID-19 happened in March, and because of that, the schools were closed, tuition centers were closed. So people were looking for alternative, and the number of students using Pandai grew significantly to more than 40,000. And then when towards the end of the year, more than 100,000 students were already using Pandai. So when the schools were reopened last year, number grew again, and now around 400,000 students have used Pandai, throughout this period. So we're lucky because we were there during the pandemic. We could help literally hundreds of thousands of students from all over the country, during this tough period. So I'll talk a little bit about Pandai features, some of the interesting things that Pandai has. Number one is personalization. Yes, we have all these, but what's interesting is that our content is personalized, meaning it caters towards the individual student by grade, by topic, even by performance as well. So if the student is weaker in certain areas, the student can get more content in those areas, for example. There's also automatic grading. So obviously with technology you can do this. The student don't need to use the print book anymore. Like for example, you do exercise on the print material, they have to flip at the back to see the answer kan. Kadang-kadang nak tengok jawapan and all this. But with Pandai, there's automatic grading, and immediately it shows detailed solution and explanation as well. So there's all the progress report in Pandai, and there's assignment by teachers, and even if they don't understand the details, especially there's also discussion with fellow students. There's also live hub that they can chat with our tutors. There's also related materials, related notes, related videos as well that can see in order to help them. And because we're using technology, the beauty is that we can do gamification in order to make the learning fun for the students, right? Because not all students have the intrinsic motivation to study themselves, right? Some students are more into, competing. Some students are more into, collecting or improving their online profile. Some students are into all this game stuff to have fun, right? So in order to cater for everyone, we're lucky because we have embedded gamification in Pandai. So we have badges, for example, all kinds of badges that they can collect. They have leaderboards or ranking by school, by state, by country, because we know where the students are from, and can ranking by year, by month, etc. And then we have rewards as well. We have tangible rewards like all these Tila, KFC, Starbucks. We have also rewards which is more interesting, like Roblox, which is the currency for Roblox, or Mobile Legends and stuff. And obviously all of this can be used by parents. Parents can toggle on and off for their own kid, right? And obviously this one Roblox is the one that students actually redeem a lot of. And then we have quiz battle where students can compete live with other students as well. So it's a healthy competition against oneself, against friends, and against others as well. And finally, for teachers, we see that teachers love Pandai because we provide all these analytics, right? So it has all the progress report, like their score, their streak, their calendar by subject, by chapter, etc. And then we have the performance analysis that shows the performance. We don't only give a report card that just say physics B or science D, whatever. It also shows the breakdown of the performance. Yes, your physics B, but which topic you are better at, which subject you are better at, and then difficulty level by taking skill, etc. So it pinpoints the strength and the weakness of the students, right? And Pandai also has a recommendation engine to suggest certain topics based on their progress so far. So we have all these AI-based features that help monitoring by parents and teachers as well. So in short, students love to use Pandai, and millions of questions get completed per month, and they spend a lot of time, and they get better as well academically. So even though Pandai is new, I think this number is quite obsolete now. It's maybe 200 million already. 200 million learning activities have been completed on Pandai. You can see all type of material. Even there's this interactive flashcard on the right that students can use to memorize definition or peribahasa or idioms or whatever, right? So Pandai, based on the curriculum, but can also be scaled to other, content. We're releasing the Mandarin content, the Chinese content, IGCSE soon. In fact, last month we launched in Brunei. So we have all the subjects, that is taught in Brunei for primary school already. So hopefully we continue to improve. And like I said, we have the teachers module, the parents module, and the student module. So only the student module has the free version and the paid version, but parents is 100% free. Teachers is 100% free as well. So free for the teachers, free for parents. For the student, they can use either the free or the paid one, the premium one, if you want more features. And hopefully in the future, we introduce other AI features, micro-credential and stuff. And even though Pandai is new, we got lucky because last year suddenly we got some investment from throughout the world, and we got some big investors from Silicon Valley, from Europe, from other parts of the world, Arashia Venture, for example, and even Harvard University suddenly approached us. We are not graduates of Harvard, we don't know anyone in Harvard, but suddenly Harvard approached us at Pandai saying, hey, we want to support what you guys doing, here's some investment, so decided to invest in Pandai. So, but obviously in Pandai, in our team, our focus has always been to increase the number of students, the number of teachers, the number of activities that is done in Pandai, to increase the stickiness, the retention of the app, so that students are spending time and benefiting from Pandai wherever they are. And like I said, as a social enterprise, we will always help students. So the ones who are paying is somewhat subsidizing the rest of the ones who are using for free. And Pandai can also use in places without internet connection. We also allow, this year we introduced the offline module, so even student in remote areas pun boleh get pre-download Pandai content in places where there's internet. They go back to their hometown, no internet, they can still use the Pandai content and access the Pandai content. So that's a little bit about Pandai, and hopefully with the support of everyone, we continue to improve and help, to help even more students, and not only in Malaysia but in other parts of the world as well. So I guess that's it for this session. So I think I'll pass over to Dr. Fadlina.
Well, thank you very much for this wonderful talk on democratizing learning. I am speechless, but I am really also happy to see our local company being able to deliver this kind of story, Mr. Khairul Anwar, and also sharing how social enterprise is going to make learning more democratized for our nation. We have a question posted to us. Please feel free, everyone, to maybe we can take several minutes to have this session.
Feel free to ask questions, and feel free to give input as well. I'm sure many of you also have your own opinions, and Dr. Fadlina as well. You should be speaking actually. I should be the moderator, Dr. Fadlina. I learned a lot from her as well, from my interaction with her the past few months. So feel free to ask questions, feel free to give input as well.
I'm inspired by the talk. Let's look at the first question. Hopefully this is the first one coming. Please be welcome, everyone, to use the chat, or you can also use the mic. Allow me to read it. Under what circumstances should we limit the democratism in education, considering the reliability of open access resources and the negative impact of social media in education?
All right, this is tricky. Thank you for the question, Mr. Muhammad Khaizi Omar. So this is very, very tricky. There's no, perfect solution to this. As you can see just now, when I talk about the school, right? There are two, different extremes of school, right? Democratic school and autocratic school, right? Even in your sentence, right? In your question, there's the positive element and the negative element, right? The positive element is that the relative of open access resources, you said, but on the flip side, there's the negativity of, the impact of social media in education, right? So if we make it too much open, then other people can also, put in negative content, right? But if we make it more rigid, then everything has to be filtered, everything has to be curated, then everything is very, very slow, right? As opposed to allowing the student to access themselves, allowing the student to access, open access resources, right? So this is tricky, but like I said, I believe, okay, in Malaysia, we're somewhere in between. The interesting part is that in Malaysia, we have a standardized national, curriculum, right? All the public schools are learning, the same thing, right? Whereas, for example, in the US, right, they actually allow each district to determine, not only the state, but each district to determine, their own, syllabus, their own arrangement, their own, methods and activities as well, right? So they give the district to determine. Maybe because the country is too big, maybe because, there's like, for example, among the schools that I visited in California on the south side, there are many refugees, there are many foreigners, there are many Mexicans who cross the border, for example. So maybe they have to, change it a little bit. But it's still the same here in Malaysia. Our country, across the state is not homogeneous, kan? From Sabah to Sarawak is different. So Sarawak to say Kelantan is different, Kelantan to Terengganu is already different, kan? Let alone other countries like other states like Penang, Johor, and others. So that's the advantage of making it standardized. Because like in Malaysia, we have the standardized, syllabus. We have the big exam, we have uniforms, we have everything flowed from the Ministry of Education to the state level at JPN, right? Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri, flowed to the district level, PPD, Pusat Pendidikan Daerah, and then to the school, right? It's somewhat of a top-down approach, but it's not really autocratic because each PPD has also their own, power to determine certain activities, certain areas in education, and even right down to the individual, the teachers can also do give their own input in terms of the activity they want to do. So, but I believe it's hard to answer this question directly, but I believe across the world we are moving towards the left, towards democratizing education. So I believe we are moving towards that, and we've seen this in university level, right? Used to be quite autocratic in terms of the rigidity of materials, but now it's more on open-ended materials. Students can be resourceful to take do project-based learning, inquiry-based learning based on the things that they take outside of the syllabus as well. Sometimes when I took my master, for example, I learned as much from the teachers as much as from my peers as well in my class as well, right? So and when we're doing assignment, we can also get resources from outside as well. So I think this is moving down. The trend is moving downwards, even towards K-12 as well, primary and secondary school. And we've seen, project-based learning, and teachers are getting input from the students and say, hey, students, what we want to do tomorrow, and things like that. So I believe throughout the world, we are moving towards the left, towards democratizing. But I agree with the person asking the question, Kaiser Omar, that there is also the negative impact that we have to be careful of, of too much flexibility. So yeah, I hope that somewhat answers it, but I don't have a definite answer to it. Sama-sama.
Oh, thank you very much. That is very useful and insightful answer, I would say. If I may offer some comments as well. I think at the bottom line, if we look at the EdTech, this is technology enhanced active learning ways or approach. And then if we want to mix that with the ingredients under democratizing learning, these two components can be implemented as a way to personalize learning, which at the same time trying to also sustain the love towards knowledge for the students to still sustain to have love towards knowledge. As we see now, even in Malaysia, the statistics that we are having recently is very scary. Students don't want to go to higher ed, and the value towards education and even formal education might be depleted, and this can be challenged due to having loads of freely accessible knowledge. But at the same time, if we go back to this philosophy of effective learning, there should be teachers around us, there should be good pedagogy, there should be peers around us to be able to balance, and the technology is in place to support. So at the end of the day, all of this should be encapsulated by the ethics. The ethics should be from the teachers, from the learners who learn that and needs to be guided, and from the technology that is being crafted, no matter it's AI or whatever other tools, should be also crafted with integrity and with ethics. So that is why the evolution in AI, for example, having human in the loop machine learning to balance these approaches to supporting AI in education, making sure that we would not divert from how we are supposed to learn, although we are trying to personalize things. Well, I might be talking too much already.
No.
This is not a forum. So let us welcome any more last question before we end this beautiful session. Anyone?
Maybe while waiting for that question, I just want to say quickly. Even we look at non educational stuff, right? We talk about other types of content, like entertainment content, right? People are saying that there are also some group of people saying that Netflix, everyone watches Netflix. Netflix can never compete with YouTube. They say that Netflix is a very popular platform. Everybody pays for Netflix, with good movies on Netflix, good quality movie on Netflix. But Netflix, they curate the content. They have to buy each content or produce. Netflix original, they have to produce millions of dollars for this one drama that you watch only once, or either they have to buy that. Whereas with YouTube, every second of YouTube, every second, there's thousands of, I don't know, maybe more hours of videos are uploaded without YouTube need to buy or produce them, right? So YouTube are getting content for free, not just one content after the millions of hours per day of new content every day in YouTube. Whereas Netflix, they always have to pay. Either they produce their own or they purchase to other people, right? To get new content, right? So that's why some people are saying that Netflix can never compete with user-generated content, right? Some people will argue saying that, hey, but YouTube, I can just upload stupid videos. I can just upload, blank videos. Yes, you can. But the beauty of platform like YouTube, like TikTok, like other social media, they don't care. They don't care about you uploading, bad content or good content, because there's filtering mechanism. And the worst filtering is not them. It's not YouTube officials, look at what video approve or not approve, but it's actually the user watching it. If the viewers do not spend enough time, they will stop halfway or stop after a few seconds or downvote the video, then YouTube knows, okay, this video is bad, do not show to as many people. Same goes to TikTok. Every new TikTok content, it will show to a few people, see the reaction. If a lot of people, like it, heart it, follow it, or spend the time towards the end, then TikTok knows, okay, this is maybe a good video, let me show it to more people, right? So they do it automatically and they get the content for free, right? So that's the beauty of, user-generated content, right? Obviously, this is not educational material, but it's hard to compete if you curate your own content as opposed to, user-generated content or open access resources like that. So, yeah, do we have a question? Adeke?
No more question, but I like that one. Response from you. So we are going people for people. So to respect the time, allow me to thank Mr. Khairul Anwar for sharing with us your wonderful talk, wonderful content. To everyone, please revisit again this talk in the YouTube, and together we try to achieve the theme this year, Creative Beyond Limit, Shaping Future-Proof Education Together. Everyone, thank you and have a good time.
Thank you.
Encik Khairul.
Sama-sama.
Apa lagi?
Jumpa lagi.
See ya.